One time we had a Halloween party at my house and I literally invited my whole school. And so many different people from like different grades showed up. It was awesome to start. So I was on the computer playing music for the party and my stepdad had come by and told me to turn it down. So I turned it down a little bit, but honestly not that much because I was like, no, it's a party, I want music. He came back by again, he was like, I told you to turn that fucking music down. And I was like, I did. When I screamed back at him, he literally grabbed me by my ponytail that I had and ripped me off the computer chair and was like, I'll do it myself then. And all of my friends were around me, everyone witnessed this. And these were people I wasn't super close with, like I invited the whole school. And one of the guys who saw it, it was actually the mayor's son. These are the only two times where it happened around other people, this video and the last video I told. But I just remember thinking like, why can't you do it when it's just us? Why do you have to embarrass me in front of everyone else too? Like the trauma is bad enough, why does everyone have to witness it?
No one should subject themselves to abuse. When I'm saying suffering, I'm just saying all of us suffer in marriage. But there's a difference between suffering and abuse. Suffering is discomfort, abuse is damage. Don't ever subject yourself to another person damaging you in a marriage relationship. You can, we counsel people to do constructive separation. If you're in an abusive marriage, don't divorce. Go to a neutral place. Have your spouse go to another place. Don't live together, and don't go back into the relationship until they get real help and demonstrate that they've changed and that there's accountability in the relationship. So I'm not talking about enabling abuse. I want you to be sure about that. I'm just talking about living with an imperfect person in an imperfect world.
To say anything else to the court?
Yes, thank you. I just want to thank the courts for letting me speak. Miguel, I hope the rest of the time you have here, you suffer and you can feel the pain my heart goes through daily. And it's all because of you and the damage you done. You were more than an uncle. You was my best friend. You violated my little girl during a time I was grieving the loss of my son. What you did was so wrong and sick, and it sucks. You won't do any jail time. But we are okay with knowing that you will never do this to no other child. Me and Sky will forever live with this pain. We will never forgive you. We have no respect for you, and you don't deserve to even have Isaiah tattooed on your arm. We hate you and anyone who still stands by you. We hope life gives you what you deserve. Karma is real, and I hope you pay and suffer for whatever life you have left. Because honestly, the life that you live, you either gonna go back to jail or die a junkie. And we are fine with either one. There is so much more not so nice words I would like to say, but I will end this with a quote. We will always be sad, hurt, angry, mad, and disappointed. But you know what? We will move on, and it will still hurt, but we will survive. Thank you.
Coming from a narcissistic mother completely fucks up the way you feel safe in this world and the way you feel love. When you're young, no one tells you your parents being abusive. You just think this is how it is. Your body starts thinking walking on eggshells is completely fucking normal. Having extreme hypervigilance in situations and being able to notice the danger. Having things be a threat to your safety that aren't a threat to other people's. You find yourself people-pleasing and becoming whoever you need to in order to feel safe. You find yourself with such shitty fucking boundaries. You find yourself seeking love through sleeping with people too fast or being afraid to say no because you're afraid to let them down. You would rather someone approve of you to feel safe than to say no. How much have you tried to parent somebody that is completely abusive to you? How many times have you tried to take the emotional repercussions in order to show how worthy you are? But you're seeing this video because it ends with you.
Exposing my religious and abusive family members and what they've done, part 10. This here is a photo of my mother. This particular incident involved my brother. So my brother had just gotten his P-plate license. So in Australia, P-plates are what's called your probationary license, and you're on them for 4 years before you become a fully licensed driver, but you are able to drive independently. Now, my brother suffers and struggles with anxiety, so he's very scared to drive the distance that we needed to go alone, so he asked me to drive. And it was his car as well. Very important for the video to mention. So we were starting our trip, and we'd gotten into a debate about a mutual friend of ours, and my brother said that he couldn't come to one of his gatherings, to which I was very confused and tried to ask, oh, why, has something bad happened? Has something really bad happened between you two? That means he can't come, to which my brother responded with, I don't care, it's my gathering, I don't want him coming. I was still very confused, because to me he was a good guy. I didn't know that there was anything wrong. My brother hadn't mentioned anything prior, having any issues prior. And like my mother, which I've mentioned in another video, my mother would pull over to the side of the road if we had a disagreement or a fight, and would kick my brother or myself out of the car, or even both of us out of the car, and if we refused to, she'd threaten to call the police. Now, because of this disagreement my brother and I had, he told me that I needed to pull over the car and to get out. At first I thought, why? I've offered to drive you this, I've offered to drive you home. This is your car. You've recently got your license. I'm obviously doing you a favor. And he said, no, stop driving, pull over. And then he called my mother, and she put her on loudspeaker, and she said, if she doesn't pull over and get out of the car, call the police. I was still very confused because it was a very minor disagreement. I felt like kicking me out of the car, and this was 9 o'clock at night, and he was going to kick me out on a busy highway, so there was no way for me to walk to, and 9 o'clock at night, no public transport nearby, so my means of getting home were very, very limited. Now, that threat to call the police worked. I ended up pulling over, getting out of the car. Long story short, it was lucky I found someone who'd broken down on the side of the road, and someone was helping them. They took me to a local police station where I was able to call my dad to come and pick me up, but then got an lecture from my dad about how I found myself in that situation. What do you do? Common phrases used by narcissistic parents designed to control, manipulate, and overstep personal boundaries. Number 1. My house, my rules. This translates to, I will run the show, you can't have personal preferences, boundaries, or wishes, voice your concerns, and you'll be shut down. 2. Don't be ridiculous, I gave you food, water, shelter, and warmth. In other words, and this translates to, I gave you the bare minimum, and I'm going to make you feel bad about it. Number 3. If you don't like it, then leave. This translates to, I don't want to communicate like an adult, and I'd rather have you leave than sort things out. 4. You're imagining things. In other words, I'm going to make you question your version of events, control the narrative, and make you feel crazy.
They say I'm trouble, but how can I take it that you're not with me? Every time I crave it, my friend told me, baby, you're losing your mind, but I can't get myself to stop. But then you have us, their time is over. Oh yeah, you gotta know it. I gotta have it together, baby. Together we gon' shine.
You ain't gon' forget it, baby.
You got me feeling it, an ocean of love. Love touch your body and I can't get enough. You got me feeling it, an ocean of love. You got me love.
Hi holograms, I want to talk about forgiveness in the context of being an abuse survivor. I'm going to read to you some posts I made on social media recently about the topic. Stop pressuring survivors to forgive before they've healed or while they are still being harmed. You can't rush or dictate how they heal either. The truth is, forgiveness may never be part of that process. You need to be okay with that, especially if you were the one who caused harm or enabled it or gaslit them about it. If you made that choice, even if you consider it your biggest mistake, you're not entitled to forgiveness. That is earned. And if you cannot make the changes and do the work to earn it, that is not the survivor's fault. Insistence of forgiveness is just further proof that you aren't healthy for that person. Get help and work on it, or you'll keep hurting people forever. Know what? I'm not done. If someone expresses their pain and your response is, well, you need to forgive the person or group or system that traumatized you, then please investigate why you need so badly for others to heal. It's usually discomfort that you are running from. That's selective empathy, and it enables abuse and harm to continue.
Happy birthday, dear Haley. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Haley. Have a great day, hon. We love you.
Just because of how much shock my body's been in over the last, 48 hours or so. But holy crap, all of you have come out of nowhere, and I did not expect that video to blow up. So the best way to begin with this is that I was just sitting at home, eating pizza, literally playing Genshin Impact, when I had heard a knock on my door. And at first I thought, oh my god, maybe it's just my neighbors asking me about the water that's outside of my door, because I've had a hand injury recently, and I haven't been able to really lift them or get anyone over here. So I open the door and it's my mother, and she's like, I'm having a whiplash right now. Because I don't know how she got there, I don't know how she even got my address. I've never told my parents my address here. So she's like, where have you been? And I've been like, what do you mean? And she's like, you haven't been answering your texts, you haven't been answering my calls, your phone goes to Verizon, they must have done something with that. And I was like, no, I didn't do that. And then she's like, did you block me? And I was like, no. And then the question I asked her is, how did you get in here? The door is locked. And then my landlord pops up like, hey, how's it going? At this point, I'm like, oh no, I'm embarrassed. And then I see the cops at the stairwell, and they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, kind of having to pull myself out of an anxiety attack, like forcibly, because if I didn't, I probably would have gone to the hospital that night. So I'm trying to talk. The cop asks me again if I'm okay. I tell him yes, and then I shut the door on my mom, and I talk to the cop for a second and my landlord. I'm like, this wasn't supposed to happen. I drop it so low that my mother can't hear it. I was saying that I was trying to do this all behind their back. I didn't want this to go this way. And the cops are like, well, we figured that, and then they stormed off. And then I'm trying to de-escalate the talk with my mom. She's pulling out the victim card, like, you blocked me, how dare you, I must have been a horrible mother, all that jazz. We go downstairs and my dad's sitting right outside of my apartment, because I live below a tavern. And he's like, I've been calling you for the last hour. He was literally yelling outside of my window for a full hour. And I didn't hear it because I had headphones in. And I tell him that, and he's like, well, we gotta know where you're at all times from now on, and if I don't hear it, I'm gonna bust through that door and I'm gonna bust through your apartment. And then you're really gonna be sorry. They're going on and on about how they thought I was kidnapped and how they thought somebody hacked my number and got a new number and I got, like, ransom or something. I don't know, my father's a conspiracy theorist. So they're going on and on. I don't tell them that I have a new number. I don't tell them anything. And they go up and they leave after that. Now I have to take legal action because I expect this to happen again. I'll be getting a PPO on them.
The Chinese Ivy League student has been sentenced to death today due to the fact he killed his mom in 2015. He stored his mom's body at home. The police didn't get to find and arrest him until 2019. And how did this happen? Behind me is the murderer Wu Xieyu, who grew up like the perfect golden child with the best grade. He got into Peking University, which is like a top institution of China. Despite his personal success, his family isn't perfect. His father passed away in 2010. Since 2010, Wu Xieyu wanted to kill himself. Wu Xieyu's mom, Xie Tianqin, is a high school history teacher. People describe her as very straightforward, independent, tough. There are guesses that she might be controlling and abusive towards Wu Xieyu, however it's not confirmed. In Wu Xieyu's own confession, he said he wanted to commit suicide and he doesn't want to leave his mom alone. So he killed her first. However, that is a clear lie. So in 2015, Wu Xieyu carefully planned everything. He bought knife, plastic wrap, activated carbon, lab coat, and all the equipment he needs in June. And since 2015 July, he has been messaging the relatives that he is going to be an exchange student with MIT. In total, he borrowed $200,000 from all the relatives. Wu Xieyu killed his mother on July the 11th. Throughout this time, he kept buying more activated carbon. He also put a live stream camera in the corner of the room to monitor if anybody stepped in the room. While he prepared the body the best so the neighbors doesn't smell anything. By this time, Wu Xieyu was acting very normal in school. He was even teaching and giving speech to younger students. He used his mom's phone, keeping contact with everybody, claiming she is in the United States. It wasn't until 2016, Xie Tianqin's brother, which is Wu Xieyu's uncle, felt something is wrong, so he called the police. The police was able to find the body in 2016. And this whole incident shocked everybody. Wu Xieyu has been hiding and running for 3 years, with dozens of fake IDs. During this time, he actually lived very happily. He was a model in a club. Some people guess he might be gay and his mom disagrees. However, he was in an intimate relationship with a female sex worker during this time. And it's believed he's too smart to get caught. He's just too tired from it and then walked into the airport. People all have a very mixed feeling towards what happened. The court has determined the punishment is death penalty. How do you feel about this case?
Your daughter ever said that Daddy did this to me?
Yes, she has. And she said that Daddy makes her tutu feel good in the bathtub.
Your daughter says Daddy makes her tutu feel good in the bathtub.
Well, I wasn't sure if it was from just, him washing her from the bathroom.
No, you know what? No 4-year-old is saying that no matter what. I mean, unless there's something very inappropriate going on. You hear the story, and there's certainly some irresponsibility on your part. There's some real lack of parenting skills or concern for your own child. I'm sorry,
There's no doubt, but I'm taking a step
Hold on. But I hear the story, and your husband comes on. He never mentions any of this. And you're saying, your mother's saying it, that your daughter's saying these things, these horrible things that are happening, and she's acting inappropriately. You're saying it, and he's saying, hey, man, it's a bar of soap, and that's the only problem here. You're afraid to confront him. You're afraid to call the police. What can he possibly do that you would take action?
Exposing my religious and abusive family members and what they've done, part 7. This man pictured here is my father. My father got into a habit of doing this particular thing when you would challenge him or he'd experience intense emotion or the intense emotion of anger. So what he'd do, and I believe this was a way to assert dominance and to assert control, is he would do this sharp scream, a sharp aggressive scream, and it would make me jump. It would make me jump in my seat or wherever I was. And I believe this was a way to assert dominance and to assert control. And when you're scared, you're vulnerable. And therefore, when you're vulnerable, you're easily manipulated. So it would have been the perfect, it would be the perfect method to gain control over someone when they're scared and vulnerable. Obviously very, very toxic, and would definitely come out of nowhere. It was quite scary.
People who hit kids are scary. You're a grown-ass adult intentionally harming a defenseless child who can't even process their own emotions yet. And over what? A spill? An accident? Your child makes mistakes just like everyone else does. It's called life. And you choose pain and fear tactics?
To do stuff like this to ruin it. Now, because of that, nobody eats. Kids, go to your room.
But Dad, I didn't get to eat him.
You lucky. You're really lucky.
didn't? Oh. You know, I promised them we would watch the game today, and they just kept asking me and going on and on and on about it.
You can't do nothing right.
Brother-in-law, father-in-law, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Can we come in? Yeah, please, come in.
Hey kids.
Hey, how you doing, kids?
We were just about to have dinner. Ain't that right, kids?
Yes, Father.
Hey, baby girl.
Hey, Dad.
What's going on with your shirt?
Oh, nothing. I had a little accident earlier, and I spilled water all over my shirt. Can I get you something to drink?
No, baby girl. Go and sit down. Rest your feet up. You do enough around this house.
Hey, can I sit down, son?
Yeah, it's cool.
Since when do you have to start asking permission to sit down? Hey sis, can I talk to you for a second?
Is it okay if can I go talk to my brother for a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Make it quick though.
So tell me what's going on.
Hey sis, is everything okay?
Yeah, why? I mean, why? Why you say that?
The energy is real weird in here, and I can't put my finger on it, and I barely get to see you. I don't know, you're different, and the kids, they don't look too happy.
Yeah, everything is fine.
Look, you know I'm a very
What is something important that you've told someone but they refuse to believe you? I'll go first.
So in 1996, I was turning 16. That guy right there is my first cousin. His dad and my dad are brothers. Yeah, he took my virginity. I only told one person that night because I'm a kid. I watch TV. I know how people treat kids when they come forward and tell the truth. So I did it anyway. No one believed me. It broke my family apart. You can only imagine the PTSD, the trauma, the stress, and the depression that I went through that I'm still healing from, right? So yeah, no one believed me, but he did it again and again. 3 times. That's him right there, my cousin. He took my virginity. Do y'all believe me now? We'll see.
Exposing my religious and abusive family members and what they've done, part 6. This woman pictured here is my mother. From the ages of around 11 to 17, 18, my mother if my mother and I got into a fight, if it was a fight between my brother and I, or even if it was a fight between my mother and my brother, no matter where we were or what time it was, if we were driving, what my mum what she'd repeatedly do is she would violently swerve over to the side of the road and say, "Get out." This was not a threat. She would always just drive off. And like I said, it didn't matter what time, it didn't matter where we were. And so sometimes it was from another town from one town to where we lived. And it was and these walks were quite significant. And then if we didn't get out of the car, she would threaten to call the police.
If there's something wrong with you and you're too scared to say something, just drop the fork on the ground while eating dinner, okay?
They're paranoid, but okay, sure. There's no beer.
Water be fine. It's healthier.
Sure. Whatever will be fine. Thank you, honey. This is not cold enough.
No worry. I'll get her next, okay? This one is.
Don't ever put your hands on my sister! Don't you ever put your hands on me! Please, get off of me! Get off of me! Come on! Get up! Please! Get off of me!
In front of the kids! Now, what's going on?
He's putting his hands on my sister!
What? For the past 4 years, he's been physically abusing us. You know, before he got here, he threw water on my shirt. He spilled it all over me. It was not because I made a mistake. He wanted beer. You know, and he told the kids that he couldn't eat, and he was about to hit Julian in the face. What?
You're not worth it. Samantha, call the police. We'll make sure this trash never sees the light of day again.
Yes, I need an officer here at 5100 Mission Drive here. Domestic violence. My husband's been abusing all of us.
Take. Oh my God. Kill it! Shh.
Can we please normalize not saying, but their family, as a response when someone says that they cut off a disrespectful, abusive, toxic family member? They did not care that we were family when they were hurting and abusing me. So I don't care now. My mental health means more. Have a good day.
I'm with my mom unless I earned enough points to do so. And I commented on some video about a family with a similar system, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, that's the worst thing ever. I'm so sorry that happened to you. That's terrible, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that is pretty bad. Like, not the worst thing ever, but like, it's not good either. And I didn't even realize that, like, in normal families, you didn't have to like earn time with your mom. Like, she just wanted to spend time with you. And I am going to be sending my therapy bill to TikTok because
how can you say no to your own mother? Oh, Mum, I'm sorry that's upsetting you. I love you. Is there anything I can do to help you feel better? What are you doing? Well, I'm just trying to empathize with your feelings and show love to you to help you feel better. Oh, I don't want your love or empathy. I just want to control you. So what am I supposed to do? Oh, the best thing you could do is just shut the conversation down whenever I try and manipulate or guilt trip you. Wow, that seems really hard. I know. I've conditioned you since you're a small child to feel really guilty and anxious whenever you disappoint me. Mum, how could you do that to me? That's really unfair. How can you say that to me after all I've done for you? So you coming to Thanksgiving dinner this year? Well, actually, Mum, we're thinking about staying home this year and just having Thanksgiving with some friends. Oh, I really don't like it when you say no, because I care more about what I want than how you feel. So I'm just going to try and make you feel bad to get what I want. And if you don't change your mind, I'm going to berate and shame you, okay? Wait, what? How could you do this to your family? Hey, Mum, could you not make negative comments about Rachel? That's my wife, and I don't appreciate people criticizing her. Oh, I really don't like it that you set a boundary with me, because I have this very fragile ego, and I can't handle any feedback about my behavior. So I'm just going to pretend to be very hurt to make out you're the mean one and I'm the poor victim, okay? Well, I don't think that's very fair.
Whether they're your mum, or your dad, or your brother, or your sister, or your nan, or your granddad, abuse is abuse. Some people say, but that's your mum, but that's your dad. That's still your mum, that's still your dad. Yeah, they may be blood, but that doesn't give them a free pass to abuse you. Nah, you wouldn't allow it off other people, yeah? So you have the right to cut off family if you need to keep yourself safe. Them being blood does not give them a free pass to abuse you. Blood or not, abuse is abuse. Right off. And if you've had to do this, I am proud of you. I know you've probably had loads of people, you know, moan at you and judge you for your opinions, right? But I respect the fact that you had to do something very difficult and you did it to make yourself safe. And I am incredibly proud of you because it's a very, very hard thing to do. I love you. You're awesome.
Exposing my religious and abusive family members and what they've done, part 9. This here is a photo of my mother. When this happened, I was living with my dad at the time, and I had an interview a couple of hours away near where my mum lived. Initially she said that I could stay at her house so that I could shower, use the toilet, etc. and have a comfortable stay whilst I prepare for the interviews. I was looking at moving around her area where she lived, and yeah, initially she said of course you can stay, and then when I got there she said no, you can't stay, and I asked where am I going to go? I don't really have any money for a motel, and I'll have to return to where my dad lived. To which she responded, I don't care, it's not my problem. Long story short, I ended up having to sleep in my car outside her house. I couldn't even use the toilet inside her house. I couldn't use a shower, nothing. And if I needed to go to the toilet, I had to go to a local park toilet. And normally in the middle of the night, I need to go, as many of us do. I had to go to a dodgy park at 2 a.m. if I needed to use anything, any amenities. And also, I could not attend the interviews and had to cancel the 2-3 interviews I had over the course of 2-3 days.
It's time to eat!
About time. It took you long enough to cook.
I just want to make sure this food is delicious.
Didn't you tell the kids to come and eat?
Yes, I'm sure I'm coming.
I refuse to be disrespected in my own house. Your mother said it's time to come and eat.
We're so sorry, Daddy. We were studying it.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Now, it's time to pray. Everybody, bow your heads. God, thank you for this food. Thank you for my beautiful family. And thank you for it being a good day to be a man. Amen. All right. You all know the rules. Good job. No one eats first until what?
Until the man of the house eats first.
That's right. I take the first bite and then you can eat. I have you all well trained. Okay. Okay. Fries are good. Okay. Chicken is good. You did good, Samantha.
Is this water? I asked for a beer!
I'm so sorry. I'll grab one right real quick. Please, if you...
I think you try to do stuff like this when I'm having a good day. I really think you just try to do stuff like...
Sure, because I guarantee almost every single person has been emotionally abused as a child at least once. Abuse is a really loaded word, but when it comes to emotional child abuse, what we're talking about is being dehumanized and instrumentalized. What that means in layman's terms is the child is not really loved for who they really are, but for what the parent wishes/imagine them to be. The child becomes a vessel of their parents' discontented lives, a tool, kind of like a magic brush, which they can turn their failures into successes. They can turn their humiliations into victories, their frustrations into happiness. You've probably heard of these two common forms of childhood emotional abuse, which is the black sheep scapegoat syndrome and the golden child. If you haven't, well, basically black sheep scapegoat. If you were cast in either one of these roles growing up, the black sheep scapegoat, where you're basically the family garbage can, or the golden child, where you could do no wrong and you were essentially loved for not who you are, but how well you could people please, both of these roles are abuse because both are dehumanizing and instrumentalizing. But what we're going to be talking about today is the 6 emotional abuse strategies that parents tend to use. Number 1 would be the narcissistic strategy. They leverage guilt. As an example, after all I've done for you, their grandiosity is hurt and they're living out their grandiose ideals through their child. This is objectifying. You're an object for their success. Number 2, the borderline strategy, which is codependence. Example, when a parent tells their child, I need you, what would I do without you? They can go to extreme lengths to ensure the child will always be by their side. This is a form of parentifying. Number 3, antisocial, which is the punitive strategy. Example, do as I say or get out of my house. There is always a consequence and you must give your power away. This is objectifying again. Number 4 is the psychopathic strategy, which is to co-opt the child. They convince the child they have a common goal. Think toddlers and tiaras. They force the child to become what they want, a form again of objectifying. And number 5, we have our schizoid strategies. We've got 2 actually, shared psychosis, which is kind of like a shared fantasy, and emotional incest. Example of shared psychosis is, it's you and me against the world, kid. The parent creates a fantasy, a reality where it's only them two. An example of emotional incest would be the parent saying, you're the love of my life, my little lover boy, stuff like that. Number 6, we got the absent parent, which creates object permanence problems. Interpersonal relationships, therefore, are extremely hard. Kids with absent parents find it hard to invest emotions interpersonally because they simply believe the person just will not be there, here today, gone tomorrow.